Your relationship with money matters. I'm Michelle Perkins, and this is the Money and You podcast, where I will be breaking down your relationship with money, offering tough love money tips, and a money dating plan that will focus on lifting the barriers to success to help pave the way for better money practices and increased wealth. It's time to take control to live a limit-free life. It starts today. Hello. Welcome to the Money and You show. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host, and I'm so happy you're here. Very excited about this new show. We're going to really focus a lot on your relationship with money as well as practical things that you can do, because that combination is like magic. So you build a great relationship with money, you take action in smart ways and in the right sequence for what you need, depending on where you're at and the stage of career and life that you find yourself, and you will really gain control in a good way, positive way, around that money and that relationship. And that will just trickle goodness into all the other areas of your life. So I love this work around money relationship, money mindset, and money management. And I have a brilliant guest with me today who's going to walk you through some really interesting ways to think about your goals and dreams and your spending plan and some other things that I won't mention until I get her on, that are just crucial, absolutely crucial, to making your money work for you in terms of bringing you your dreams and your goals. I'm sort of stumbling over the goals and dreams, but that's what this is all about. This is about your vision for your life and how your relationship with money can be a relationship that supports that. And so I want that to be a supporting, loving relationship, and that's possible. So that's what this show is about, is really helping you to get from this thing where money is just a thing, an annoying thing, a thing that either brings you anxiety or fear or conflict, or, you just want to avoid all the time, to something where you are excited to get to know it and to work with it in your life to bring you your goals. I've got a quick money update, which I'm going to bring you each week, if I can time this properly. So I was just reading that 2 million Americans 55 and older are out of work. And that's up from 1 million in February of 2020. Our economy has only added back 28,000 jobs for workers over 55 since August. Those are some pretty big numbers and small numbers on the other end. There's a lot of interest right now on changing careers, on building businesses, on changing what you're doing, because there are so many people who are in fact out of work. And these are people, the older folks, have experience, have training and all kinds of goodness to bring back into the workplace. So it is a really interesting time to start looking at new careers. And I read an interesting article on just the career paths that are going to be really exciting coming up in the future. IT being one of them, a huge one. It went from being one of the top 10, I think it was the 10th most growing career paths, to now the 4th since COVID and the pandemic has hit. So really important to be looking at where things are going. Healthcare is another one. Some really wonderful careers in terms of, being a nurse practitioner or a physician's assistant, lots and lots in the healthcare industry, in the IT industries, and some interesting ones in the more eco-conscious, green sort of economy. Interesting things like wind turbine attendant or whatever. So there were some really unique ones there that I had not thought about before. But this is an interesting time to relook at your career and how you are going to be earning money in the future. And so part of that relationship with money is how you earn it. And so I just wanted to put that out there, that you are not alone if you're looking to change your career, especially at an older age. There are a lot of you out there, and this is a very exciting time, really, to think about new directions and maybe even some new education and some new ways to go. So Next Avenue is a publication, I think, put out by PBS, and they have some really, this is where this article came from, some interesting things that you can read about in terms of the up and coming, most exciting, most desirable career paths for the future. So with that, that's my little money update. And I want to go ahead and introduce our fantastic guest today. Leslie Crumley is going to be talking about spending plans and going for your vision and dreams and how a spending plan can help you. I'm going to go ahead and read a brief introduction. Today we're going to talk to Leslie Crumley, who lost almost everything in the Great Recession of 2008. She crawled out of a deep, dark hole and now teaches others her secrets to financial success. She's a personal finance strategist and author of The 3 Steps to Live a Life You Love. She's going to share with us today what you can do right now to reinvent your relationship with money, no matter how much or how little you have. At the end of the show, she'll share a few resources that support your financial success, and she'll give us a few tips that you can take away. And I want to make sure there are takeaways every show, so you'll be able to take some very valuable information away from today's show with Leslie. And Leslie, welcome. So glad you're here.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I'm excited to be here and talk about, one of my favorite topics, right, is money. So here we are.
Here we are.
Yes.
And I love that it's a favorite topic. And I don't know, maybe you can let people know if it was always a favorite topic or how it became a favorite topic.
You know what? It was always a favorite topic because I always wanted to know, how come some people can travel and other people can't? Why do some people go on vacation and others just work really hard? And I was from a very small town. My father grew up during the Great Depression. So I was always taught to save money, not how to invest it or how to enjoy your life, just, that scarcity mindset of making sure you have enough. So it's always just been a curiosity to me to how I can travel and find the time and money to do so. So that's really my interest in money, is really figuring out how to travel.
Yeah, I love that. And I love what you're saying about the beliefs that were kind of instilled in you around money, because I'm so fascinated by people's money beliefs. And
Yes.
so, just like you said, when you grow up with a certain belief system surrounding you, from your parents or, your church, your neighbors, whoever it might be, at an early age, that just gets inside of your subconscious, and you tend to believe that that's what you need to do and how you need to think, and then consequently how you need to act with your money. And so I think that's really interesting. And I think it typically either drives people in kind of a straight line toward those kinds of actions without questioning, or like in your case, you start thinking, wait a minute, this is a way, this is my parents' way, but I see other people going on vacation and living more adventurous lives that I might want to live, and how does that happen? And so kind of questioning that belief, I think. Were you questioning the belief?
Yeah, I was thinking, well, why not me? That's not where I'm at, but why not me? And if why not me, how can I? And that's what drives me, how can I?
Yeah.
So
okay, that's great. And so tell me a little about how you got into doing helping people with financial coaching and planning, and some of the, well, first of all, tell people a little more about what it is that you do specifically.
well, thank you for that question. And I've been in financial services for about 25 years. I didn't start the traditional path. I started in financial services because when I met my husband, he told me, my parents are going to have to live with me. And I thought, wow, how does that work? Did they not save for retirement? So thinking I need to know how to save for retirement because I don't want somebody supporting me. So that kind of got my curiosity of going, well, how do I figure that out? And I don't know. Well, I'm going to go be a financial advisor. So I worked with a large financial brokerage firm and learned how to manage money that way. And then when I kind of went that path, I decided, no, that's not really for me because I don't want to sell people products. So I went into compliance and in securities. And I thought, well, I'm not really loving the management part of that. But boy, I had some clients who had real estate. I thought that sounds very interesting. Those people have what's called passive income through real estate. How can I do that? So I went on this journey and ended up buying a lot of property. And unfortunately, I did that at 2008. And so I went through this horrible downturn. It was just a very, very low point. But what it taught me was what I needed to go back and do to, let me say that in a different way. I learned the tools that I should have used before I started investing in real estate. And now that's what I teach. I teach people systems to protect what they have, and then so they can nurture and manage what they want to grow. And especially if you're wanting to transition from careers, the two challenges are really either you're not making enough money, so you need to skill up, or you want to work in your passion pursuit, but you need to figure out how you can afford to do that, especially if you're making a high salary. And that's the hard leap for people. And that's why I talk about the spending plan, which we're going to talk a little bit more today, is there's a couple tools you can use to help you figure and answer all those really hard questions that are almost impossible to answer if you don't use these basic tools.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for being so open about, the things that you tried and some of the things that didn't work. Not, I mean, you chose an interesting time period, as did a lot of people, it was obviously an unknown at the time how things would go. I actually know many people who were in real estate at that time and had similar problems.
Yeah.
And so what is it that you wish you had done differently before you embarked on your real estate adventure?
I wish I would have had some clear-cut goals. Like, why am I doing this? How much money am I expecting to achieve from this goal? And then I wish I'd done some more research on what does it actually entail to own property, because what I was told was, hey, you just get your CPA, you get your real estate person, you get the loan broker, they'll figure out everything for you. Oh, no. There's a lot of operational details that people just don't want to talk about. And if you don't understand how to read your own balance sheet, if you don't understand where you want that property to, how you want the property to flow financially for you, and if you don't understand from a risk standpoint what you're putting at risk, you can put everything you've worked really hard for and just toss it to the wind, like so many people have done in the past. So what those tools do for you, like the balance sheet, I call it a financial freedom balance, is because it helps you inventory what you own against what you owe and constantly help you manage your numbers to see if you're going in the right direction. And you can even use that as a visualization tool. If you're going to buy something new or you're going to spend your money in a different way, you can use that balance sheet to help you navigate and make sure that it is going to track to your goals and dreams. Because we're all tempted to go off track, right? Who doesn't want to, buy that new boat or do an add-on to your house or go on a big vacation and not really plan for it financially? But we're always looking at opportunity cost. What is the highest and best value for the money that I have coming in? And what's the highest and best value when it goes out? And if you don't understand how your money flows out, then you can really be missing some opportunity and working harder because you don't know how money flows and how taxes flow. That's the truth, because a lot of people look at more money. I just need to make more money. I wish that were the case and it were that easy, but that's like going to the store, buying a flute and thinking you're just going to bring it home and play it. It takes more than just buying that flute and bringing it home, right? So
right. And one of the things that really, when you and I first met and we struck up a conversation, this idea of paying more attention to your balance sheet, which is so neglected by most people. Everybody's looking at their P&L and everybody's looking at their revenue and hopefully their expenses. We know people are looking at their revenue, or most people are. There are business owners out there who couldn't tell you what they're making, I think. But let's just say the majority of people are tuned into the revenue.
Yes.
Less so sometimes, depending on your money personality and what's happening, less so maybe the expenses, but much less so the balance sheet. That's kind of this document, this report that you put together once a year with your accountant when you're getting ready to do your taxes or whatever, and it gets like a glance, and then boom, you don't worry about it till the next year. So you take that balance sheet really seriously, and really got me thinking, wow, I need to be in like constant contact with my balance sheet. And that wasn't something that I was necessarily doing either. So talk to us a little about the balance sheet, and, maybe the basics of just what it is, what it shows you, what stories it will tell you, and how to kind of relate to that document.
Yeah, it is really a good money story, because how many times, I know I've done this in the past, and especially when my real estate was going down really quickly and I wasn't watching it because I didn't know how to look at it collectively, it is really, think of it as a grocery store or like an inventory, right? Or your wardrobe even. You are just inventorying, well, how many shirts do I have? Well, that's my cash. How much, how many savings accounts do I have? And you're just going through a list of categorized assets, right? Which sounds fancy, but really it's just, what are your checking accounts? What are your savings accounts? What property do you own? And there's a few other things that go on that balance sheet. And this is a modified balance sheet, because generally you think of balance sheets as a tool for large companies, or you get a annual return from an investment, and it will have the company's balance sheet. So I've just tweaked the tools, the powerful tools that companies use to gauge their success, and tweaked those and made them a really very easy to use for a consumer who doesn't really understand how their money flows. And I also use the balance sheet as a self-development tool, because if you don't understand what a note is, well, you can just circle that, and when the time comes, you can dig more into it when it's time. But if you've just got a checking account and you don't have a savings account, you just go to that level. So it allows you to level up your financial literacy as you are doing very powerful work. And then you go to your liabilities. Well, how much do you have in credit card debt, in student loan debt, in car debt, in home mortgage debt? And do you have any other debt you owe? A lot of small business owners end up owing money in taxes because they don't understand how to calculate or do quarterly taxes. So that's a challenge for, a lot of professionals as well. And it just helps you track. If you do that on a quarterly basis, and it becomes your accountability coach to make sure that you're tracking in the right direction, and also, I keep talking, right? But when you do make money, you're assuming that you're needing to make money. But the flip side of that, Michelle, is when you've made a lot of money, I know people who have a very hard time spending their money as well. And you can talked about your money, your relationship with money. If you have a couple and they both have different philosophies, that can cause a lot of tension. And a balance sheet can be used as a tool to help you monitor and your spending too much or too little, quite frankly.
And how would you use the balance sheet to do that, just to illustrate a little bit?
Well, when I meet with my husband on a quarterly basis, we take a look at the overall balance, right? Did we go up or did we go down? If we went down, why did we go down? Has there been a market shift? Did we spend too much money? Right?
When you say overall balance, you're talking about the net worth.
Yeah, your net worth, your net worth balance.
Okay.
So you go big picture, smaller picture, right? So you've got your big picture. Well, did I go up or down? That's my big picture.
Right.
And what is my goal? Because if I don't know what my goal is, I don't know how to measure that. If my goal is to stay break even, right? My goal right now is I just need to stay at the same I was last quarter.
Okay.
That's the phase I am in my life.
Right.
So as long as I'm tracking for that I've met my goal. But if my goal is to buy a house, right? That tells me that I'm going to need to be saving money. So my net worth needed to go up, especially in my savings accounts, because that's where I'm putting money in to save for my house.
Right.
So my saving, and that's why your goals are so important to have along with that balance sheet, because your goals dictate how you're going to navigate your balance sheet. Does that make
It
sense?
makes total sense. So you're looking at what you own, and this is what I've heard you say, what you
Right.
own versus
Hmm.
what you owe. And so you've
Right.
got your assets, what you own, your liabilities, what you owe, and then whatever that difference is. And that difference is not, what I'm hearing is that difference, there's not an absolute about that difference. It might be down, it might be up. I mean, it's not right or wrong that it go up or down. It's just how is it in accordance with what you're trying to do. I mean,
Exactly. What phase are you in life? So, for example, if you had somebody who wanted to transition careers in a high paying career, right?
mm-hmm,
Well, they're planning for that. So they know in 6 months they want to switch jobs. They are committed to that. Well, then what they're going to want to do is they're going to be wanting to look at their savings account. How are they going to replace that income for their monthly spending? So that is what they're going to want to do.
right, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. And I think it is unusual that people sit down on a quarterly basis and look at these things. But again, as I say often, it's freeing. It's freeing to know, especially, if you are in a position where you're trying to eliminate your debt. It's and you're doing it. You're taking the actions that you set up and watching that, that in itself creates a better relationship with your money, to watch you actually, even if the steps are small or the amounts are small, and you're making progress and you see those amounts going down. It's momentum,
Yes.
and it motivates you and keeps you
Yes.
wanting to continue that process. So again, it's clarity. It's seeing what's actually happening, because we can imagine all kinds of things in our head, and those numbers, again, I can't say enough. You can have kind of this, and a lot of people say this, they think, oh, I've got some money in savings, I've got some money in my house, but they don't actually quantify it. And it's interesting when you quantify it. And oftentimes people are afraid to do that. And the picture they see is better than what they were imagining. And that feels good too. That makes you feel like, yeah, let's go. Let's do more of whatever it is that you're doing. So it's worthwhile to take this in-depth look. And I love the quarterly look at it. So that's great.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a bit about spending plans. And I want to just, before I even get into that, I want to talk about your approach, which is different from, it aligns with my approach because it's very mindful. It's almost a spiritual kind of approach to money. So it isn't like, just numbers. Let's put it that way. It is more of a relationship. I mean, you are relating to your money by getting to know it really well, by checking in with it, by paying attention to it, and by enjoying that process of it sort of flourishing and going in the direction of your goals and dreams.
Yes. Absolutely. I look at the spending plan as a tool to help you connect. It's almost like a meditative tool to me. The beads that people will use for mantras.
Mm-hmm.
It to me, it's kind of like that, because it is so easy to get busy and forget who you're paying, and really not have a little bit of negative energy. Oh, I have to pay my bills, right?
Right.
I look at it as, well, I get to pay my bills. And when you're looking at your money and you're optimizing how you're spending, then you realize that the $100 that you donate to a charity can make a big impact on somebody else's life.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at this as impact spending. And if I am careful and mindful of how I invest my dollars, then I can actually change the world. So I believe with good attention to detail with our finances, that each of us have the ability to impact the world globally. That's how powerful I think this work is.
That's great. Yeah, that's a beautiful way to look at it. And again, it's often how we look at it. I mean, if you
Yes.
look at it like a big grind and this is pain in the, what to have to do, it's very different than looking at it from the standpoint of I'm making changes in the world that have a ripple effect that improve my life and other people's lives. I mean, what a very different mindset. So I love that. Yeah. And the gratitude that you can feel in paying your bills. You know, my new practice in 2021 is to put a little thank you for, you know, for whatever, you know, thank you
Yeah.
for this is paid. Thank you. Whatever
Yes.
I put different things, but and it just feels good. It feels weirdly, you know, it might sound silly, but it feels good. I have the means to pay this bill. This is, you know, putting lights on in my house or whatever it is. And yeah, it changes the feeling around it. So, you know, I mean, I certainly have had my times in life where I'm paying bills was just the worst day of the month, but it's I've tried to change that because really we have to do it anyway. We might as well do it with a grateful attitude and find some happiness in it. I think it's part of life.
Yeah, you know, and can you imagine not having a water bill to pay? Can you imagine if you had to go find water? I mean,
Right.
or figure out how you're going to get heat in your house? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
you kind of disassociate with all of the, you know, magic that our lives are powered by,
Hmm.
the community of how we're brought together by innovation and people's, you know, um,
Right.
innovation.
Right.
So I am grateful, you know, every day when I turn on my lights, I'm super grateful.
Yeah.
Or have heat, if you've had your heat go out for any extended amount of time, I am always grateful now when I pay my electric bill. And that wasn't because I didn't pay it, by the way. My electric was out for 3 days few years ago, which really brought that to mind. So.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I'm gonna push it to the next level and try to think this way when I'm paying all the Amazon charges and the
Yeah.
Apple Music things on my Amex that I don't know whose they are or where they come from, but
Well
uh,
well, I would say there could be a little spending plan work there. It's like,
yeah.
you know, what's the highest and best use of the funds? And doing that analysis is where the spending plan comes in, you know.
Right. Right. And so, okay, spending plan. I know people listening are thinking, well, that's just a budget. So talk to me about because who likes that word? Nobody likes the word
Well,
budget.
oh,
Maybe a few do, but I personally don't. Um,
no,
so is but we talked about this, and a spending plan is not the same as a budget. So will
correct.
you clarify that for people?
Absolutely. A spending plan, the way I've created it now, as you know, that what makes finance really very difficult sometimes is there are the same words can be used for different um applications. So when I say spending plan, this is a spending plan that I created. And in the spending plan that I created, it is that, again, it is that meditative process that allows you to understand how your money is flowing in. And that's flowing in by tax return. Because a lot of people don't even take a look at their tax return, not understanding that that is one of the largest bills that they are ever going to pay. And so I like to know, well, how much am I earning in each category? And again, it's by category. So it's very important to understand your category of income, especially again, if you want to transition careers. A lot of people transition from a W-2 type of circumstance to a independent. And if you don't understand how those taxes flow, then you might not price your goods and services the right amount because you don't understand how much you need to set aside for taxes, but also for Social Security and Medicare. And the language makes us not understand that not everything we pay out is just a sunk cost. We actually get some benefit from Social Security, the money that we pay in, and the Medicare. And that's why it's my spending plan includes analyzing how your money is flowing in from a W-2 standpoint so that you understand if you're having to price your services from a independent contracting perspective, how much you need to mark that up
Mhm.
to even get the equivalent, because a lot of people don't understand how to the equivalence income.
Mhm.
So that's part of the spending plan is breaking down each area of where your money's flowing in and out and being able to plan that as opposed to going, oh, I only have, you know, I've got 5,000 coming in, so I have to figure out how to have 5,000 coming out. You know, and
Mhm.
that's what's called a balanced budget. That's just no fun. And it also assumes that things aren't going to be any different. A spending plan allows you to go, okay, I have 5,000 coming in a month. I've got 5,000 going out, but if I want to go to Florence for 5 weeks in a couple of years, I'm going to have to figure out how to spend my $5,000 differently, or I'm going to have to make more money. That's just my two choices. So the planning part of it becomes the mindset part, which is tied to what your goals and dreams, and it all comes back to your goals and dreams. That's the most important part.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're not doing this for nothing. We're doing this for those trips to Florence or whatever. So
Right.
that's where you start, right? By
Yes.
identifying exactly what your goals and dreams are. So instead
Yeah.
of thinking someday I'll have a house, you try to think, okay, let's I don't know. Well, what would you say about something like that? That's something I hear a lot, Someday I'll change jobs, someday I'll start a business, someday I'll have a house, someday I'll travel. Those seem to be four big ones.
Yes. Well, and I would say, I think COVID has taught us someday is now, right? If you don't like when, if not now, when? And then putting a date on that when. So for me, I know in 2 years, I'm going to go to Florence. So I have that on my calendar. And a lot of people say, well, I don't know if I can go or when I can go. No, put it on the calendar and work your way there. Just pick a date. So if you want to buy a house, say, I want to buy a house in 5 years. What is it going to take? Well, I'm going to need a down payment. How much? Well, how much can I afford? And how much can you afford? How are you going to know if you don't do your spending plan, right? So that's where those spending plans come in really handy with any of those goals. You have to know how much you're spending so you can know how much you are willing to spend differently to meet your goal.
Yeah, interesting question. It's interesting from the perspective of a career transitioner, especially somebody who might be going into a totally new field and possibly
Yes.
making less money than they were in their previous job. So, this is really helpful there too, to identify, okay, where's my baseline? I know I'm going to make less, but
Right.
what do I need to make? Maybe initially just to live my life, and then later to, obviously the idea is that, you'll be starting something new at a lower point, but you'll be building up. And
Or maybe not, or maybe not. I mean, maybe you're at the phase of your career where you don't want to build up. You've already built up. So but you're afraid to take that jump because you really don't know how much you have acquired. And so that's why that balance sheet, along with the spending plan, is very important. And there's all sorts of fun strategies that you can play with before you even make a decision. But if you don't have those two tools and you don't understand how to use them, you're not able to use them as strategy tools.
Right. Right. And I want to say I love the fact that you and your husband sit down and go through the balance sheet quarterly, because if there is one thing that I find seriously disturbing, it is when one spouse or the other hasn't maybe ever looked at a balance sheet, and certainly don't do it regularly, and have no idea what they really own and owe. And that can be pretty devastating. I've heard plenty of stories of somebody not knowing something, and, one day going into the bank account and seeing that the $1 million that they had is no longer there. I mean, these are scary stories, and they're real. I mean, there's people I know have told me, and no idea what rug just got pulled out from under them. And, if you were sitting, it should be really a regular thing to look at that together. And so both parties, even if one is really managing things more, both need to be looking at that balance sheet together.
Absolutely. It's trust but verify. And it makes the person, in my case, me, I have to have my work done because I have a set date on the calendar that I have committed to meeting. So it forces me to do some of that work that I could get busy and go, oh, I'll do that next week. I'll do that next week. And then next week turns into 6 months, which turns into 9 months, right? So it is fantastic for that accountability. But also, if you're the one in your family managing the money, you want to bring that other person in, because if something goes wrong, like it did for me in 2009 and 10, and I wasn't doing that person feels very robbed and like something's been done to them, and it has been, even though they have verbally agreed, right? So
Right.
it is a visual tool to help you um, make sure that you're both understanding where you're tracking, because words don't always, connect the same way as a visual tool. And the
Hmm.
good news about the financial freedom plan that I use, which is that balance sheet, is my husband helped design that form for me, and he hates this. Any financial tool, he does not want to talk about it. He doesn't want to think about it. And so the design of the tools that I offer are very user friendly, because they're designed by someone who absolutely can't stand spreadsheets, and is, profession was communication design. So that, that's a benefit.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a big benefit. That's
yeah.
great. Yeah, and they are great tools and easy to use and very comprehensive. So, and I know as part of what you do, you walk people, you offer the tools, but you walk people through the process of how to use them and keep them on track with that as well. You mentioned earlier that there was an example of something that happened to you this morning that you wanted to share. I'd love to give you that opportunity.
Oh, sure. I was talking to a friend and a client of mine, and she was sharing with me how she was so upset that she got a bonus. And by the time she got her um, deposit, she said there was only 50% of my bonus in the check. And I'm like, I'd already spent that, my full bonus. I didn't understand that I wouldn't be getting the full amount, because when you hear, and I won't say the amount, let's say you get a 20 or 30 or $40,000 bonus, or a $10,000 bonus,
Mhm.
you hear that gross amount. And because you're not used to looking at net and figuring out net, if you don't have the philosophy that you spend your bonus after you get it, then a lot of people go out and spend the whole gross amount of their bonus
Yeah.
and are shocked when they get half of that in um, their checking account.
Hmm.
And it's understanding how that money flows, because she's feeling very depressed about that right now. And I said, well, chances are if 50% of that bonus was gone, that you know, a percentage went into your 401k plan. Probably Social Security and Medicare was taken out of that. So you're actually prepaying future benefit for yourself. But because of the language, you're thinking you got dinged 50%, because
Hmm.
you don't know where it goes. And
Right.
so that's why it's very important to understand how your paycheck flows and how your bonuses are going to be paid, so you can mentally prepare for that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, very true. And it's interesting when you think about breaking. I mean, most people won't go to that length. They'll just assume taxes and not actually break it down, because it is if some of it went to your 401k, then you can have a little immediate relief that it was going back to you in some way. And I know from having borrowed against a 401k, or in order to invest in some business activities, um, that paying the loan back month after month felt just like any other loan. It felt like, oh, I have to come up with this loan amount and pay it back. But the reality, I would always check myself and go, it's going straight back into our 401k. This
Right.
is savings. This isn't a loan, payback. So anyway, it again comes down a little bit to the mindset. And obviously, if you expect to pay taxes before you receive the bonus, that's helpful too. So if you know more, it helps. But yeah.
Well, yeah, and can you imagine voting? Like, if you vote and you think we have too high taxes, well, how can you even vote, intelligently, if you don't understand how the money flows? And
No.
because they don't talk about it a lot, there's
Hmm.
a lot of shenanigans that go on, because they count. I think they count on people not understanding how their money flows, and it's
Hmm.
not taught at school,
No.
for the most part. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. So you're really giving kind of a deeper education in this area, and that's what people need. People, we all need more, uh, more education and more focus on certain things that have been sort of neglected to be taught to us. That's
Yes, yeah,
Um,
and I think the important thing to remember though is, it doesn't feel so good. Well, you need to do that, but why do you want to do it?
mhm,
And I know that comes back to me. It's the result is I want to travel, and to travel I need time
yeah,
and money.
right.
So that's why I want to do all the work. I want to, like I always equate it to playing an instrument. I want to sound, like Miles Davis if I'm playing. But for me to be Miles or even halfway close to Miles, I got to do the work. I got to practice. I have to learn the notes. There's so much I have to learn to be able to get those results. And the same thing is true with your finances.
Mhm.
There's a lot of learning to do of how it all flows together to get those results that you really want, that are marketed as, oh, it's super easy, just make more money.
Mhm.
No, no,
Yeah,
that's not how it works.
right.
So,
And that's not even what everybody wants is to necessarily change a job to make more money. They might love what they're doing, even though
right.
it's not paying what they'd like. Um, yeah, interesting, and I love that too because initially it is difficult. You've got to set everything up, you've got to do that work, but over time, once that's done, and once you get in that rhythm of meeting and doing the quarterly reviews and all of that, it does become not only easier, but it really becomes something that you look forward to because again it keeps informing you and it keeps allowing you to get closer to those dreams and goals. And so when it switches over from it is like the instrument. At first it's not that much fun to practice. You sound horrible. It doesn't feel like you're getting anywhere. But then slowly over time, that shifts, and
Yeah,
then you actually want to practice. So
yeah.
it is very similar. That's a great analogy too. So tell us how people can get a hold of you, Leslie, learn more about your process and what you do.
Well, you can go to my website, structuredsuccess.com, and I have a free vision plan development session coming out on April 11th. I'm not sure if this is going to air before then, but if it doesn't, I offer that quarterly. So July 11th, that would be coming up. And you can check my events page. I have numerous events coming up. And in the month of April, I have 3 sessions on the secrets to your financial freedom, which is teaching you how to create that balance sheet. We actually do it together, and it's a very affordable price. So I'd love to have you come and join that journey. And that's the best way to get started and how to reach out.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That is great. And I hope people will take advantage of that. And as far as they can reach out to you, they can, that was it a course or was it a workshop that you just offered
Oh,
on April
they're
11th?
both. I would say they're both sessions
Okay.
because they're
Okay.
one-time type of time investment. So the vision plan development is a 45-minute on April 11th at 2 o'clock, and you just jump in, and there's a vision planner that comes with the session. If you
Okay.
download the book on my website, you'll get into the loop of that. But it's where we measure each quarter. We just go back and measure, these are my goals, do I want these to be my goals?
Okay.
And so it's that process of just coming back each quarter to measure how you're doing and if you're progressing, and if you're not, what can you do differently to progress?
And
And sometimes that means if I've wanted to switch my job and I've not done anything towards that, that means calling up Michelle and going, hey, I need a session with you, I need some help, because time's a ticking and it just will go by so quickly. And life's short. It's like, what
Mhm.
do you want to trade your life for? So that is that vision plan development session, and the
Nice.
other is a hour session on the balance sheet.
Okay. And I think we talked about three small tips that you can throw out there very quickly. We just have a few seconds here.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Manage your mindset. So you're never budgeting again. You are doing a spending plan because you're planning how you're going to navigate your journey. You're going to want to you want to do a balance sheet. That is the number one tip I have to say is make sure that you start that balance sheet process And then after you get the balance sheet done, step into creating a spending plan. And if you need any help with that, just reach out to me and I'm happy to support your success.
That's great. Leslie, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. You are really putting some wonderful things together and helping people in a beautiful way. And just the way you go about it is so welcoming. And, I think people really can enjoy their money as a result of working with you. It's a lot different than with a lot of financial folks out there. So thank you so much. And I sure appreciate you being on.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Michelle. It's always fun. I look forward to the next time.
Okay, great. Wonderful. So every show, we're giving you a tough love money tip. And while Leslie just gave you her tips, there's some overlap there because knowing I was having her on, my tip for you for this week is, as she said, to look at your assets and liabilities, what you own and what you owe, and list out what you own, what you owe, and attach some numbers. So Leslie, I'm right with you there. What are the values, of the assets you have, and what are the numbers in terms of your debt and other things that you owe? And my tip here is no judgment, no judgment, no judgment, no judgment. This is not a game we're playing so that you can feel badly about decisions you've made or, woe is me, I'm doomed. That's not what this is about at all. So this is to be looked at with a very neutral emotional state. So you can just see it for what it is so that you can go forward and you can look forward and get excited about what's ahead and not necessarily beat yourself up. There are some lessons maybe to be learned from the past, but definitely this is an exercise in getting to know what is. It's like knowing it's raining outside. I mean, tomorrow the sun's probably going to come out. So let's just know what it is and no judgment. There's a lot of judgment around money, and that is one of the biggest issues out there with money. And what makes it difficult is there are so many judgments and so many beliefs that are negative. And so this is a chance to turn that around and come at this with a new resolve to make it better. There are tools out there. Leslie's just discussed some great tools to help you with this. And the first step is just knowing what's what. So that's the tough love money tip for this week, is get those assets and liabilities written down. If it makes you happy, write them in, colored pencils and make it fun. It doesn't have to be on a spreadsheet. Do it however it works for you so that you can enjoy this process. So thank you so much. This has been another great Money and You show. I'm so excited. Thank you, listeners, for being here. And you can find us wherever you find your podcasts. That's Apple Music and Spotify and iHeartRadio and all over the place. You can follow me on Instagram at Live a Limit Free Life. You can check us out on YouTube on the Limit Free Life channel. Visit my website, limitfreelife.com. There are some free resources there. You can see more about the career transition work and the business coaching and the money mindset work that I do with people. And I would love for you to sign up and schedule a call with me if you have problems or issues or concerns. I am more than happy to speak with you about that. See if I can send you in a good direction that can be helpful. So I want to hear how your money journey is going, and I would love to answer questions. So that's part of this new show. Please email me at Michelle, 2 L's, at limitfreelife.com, and ask me your questions. We'll talk about them on air with our experts, and we'll get you some answers. So I want to know how you're doing. I want to know if you have, concerns that I may have never thought about. So please respond and reply with an email. Thank you, UBN Go, and Grace, and Tony, and Alexander. I really appreciate this, the setup for the new show, and how gracious and wonderful all of you are. So thank you so much. Until next time, this has been Money and You.